female entrepreneurs turned besties share on life, business, and the journey through the mess. Join their community with every new episode for connection, education, a few laughs, and the hype energy like a bathroom full of drunk girls at a bar. It's okay.
We're your friends now!
Hey guys, it's Ashleigh.
Hey, it's Biz.
Hi, it's Katie. I feel like we should give
some context. The video that goes with that is so good. I don't think I've ever actually watched it before.
Okay, so for context,
I love our energy so much. I love it. I love it so much. I love our intro. I love all of it. Okay, thanks. Thanks for letting me explode with that. Hi, everybody. We missed you.
I feel like we should explain when we press record, our intro music plays, but it has a video, but it was not made as a video. It was made just for audio. So half of the video is like Ashleigh's computer, and the other half is our feet.
After spending a few hours at the bar.
Totally. But it's like the audio does not match the video like at all. Like the fact that we were just standing in a circle, like hyping each other up in a hotel room. And it's so obvious that that's what we were doing. Like a last minute, oh shit, we need to do this before we're not together again.
Which that was like a year ago, like a few days ago. It was exactly 1 year ago.
Yeah, when we interviewed Diana.
Greatest day of my life. Oh my God.
How far
what an incredible woman. Still feeling that high. I'm so glad we're doing this. I'm so glad we had the recording.
Me too. Amazing. I actually think about not even the episode we recorded with her, but the energy thing, how she holds her fists to preserve her energy before doing so. I think about that like, man, at least twice a week. It is so frequently in my head, and it's just sweet little Diana.
I know. I think about it all the time when I touch people. I'm like, you like that in my mind. I'm like, zap. There's little. It's my superpower. Now y'all know this is a new game. This is how I control it in my head. No, because I'm like literal. I'm intentional with the little zaps I give.
I love that.
Zip.
Zip zap.
Ooh, Ashleigh, you would love this. Actually, let me see if I can find it real quick so that I don't like. I have really interesting Instagram follows, like you know.
No, tell me more.
Like Merriam-Webster.
Oh, like you follow Merriam-Webster.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah. I follow the dictionary. Because you know, why not? Okay, well, I can't find it, but they made a post today about how there's actually a name for the thing that dictates like what order words go in when they have the middle vowel. Mm-hmm. So like tic-tac-toe. So you said zip zap, and that's correct. I don't know. It was really interesting.
The zip zap zop.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I will find it. But
so I'm grammatically correct in my zip zapping.
Zip zapping. Yeah, you are. It is grammatically correct. And I love it because it starts out with like a it's like, hey ding dongs. Yep, here it is. Hey ding dongs, let's have a chit chat about ablout reduplication. I don't know. If you have 3 words, the order usually goes IAO. So tic-tac-toe, click-clack, King Kong, hip-hop. But they said, don't these things sound wrong? Hop hip, raff riff, spot spit, flop flip, zag zig, Ross Rick.
Ross Rick.
Anyway,
that's great. I want
to
know who's running these. Like some of these corporate accounts are so well run to me.
Theirs is actually, I will say, theirs is well run. It's informative and interesting.
Yeah, like the National Park Service Twitter account.
Yeah.
Love it. I
Yeah.
love their account so much. So yeah, I saw a post from Open Door on TikTok today. Ooh, TikTok, another one. Talk Tick
Yeah.
would be wrong.
Talk to
And it was like they were trying to copy this style of content where people use like childhood dolls and they almost are like mimicking playing as a kid where they set up the dolls and then they take a picture and then they use captions to be like, this is the imaginary play scene. And there's this one account that's huge that does it with the little calico critters. If you've ever seen the little
Okay. Yeah.
and but this account is huge and she does all these elaborate storylines that are usually more like grown-up soap opera style, like they're usually cursing and cheating on explaining anything from TikTok is impossible. Anyways,
I need you to send me that like immediately.
So Open Door tried to copy that style of content with like these weird, like they almost looked like 3D printed dolls of a man and a woman, and they're like, oh my god, let's get a divorce. What if we sold our house to Open Door? And then like the wife is like, I live in a new house now and I have a new husband already. And it's like a plumber.
What?
And all the comments were like, hey, so this is insane. So some corporate accounts, I do feel for them. They try, and I couldn't really explain why. Like Merriam-Webster can make a joke about Rick Ross and it be funny, and then Open Door try to make a joke and be on trend, and it's not.
Yeah.
And it's just
At
one of those
all.
weird, like there's some subtlety that isn't always easily explainable in humor.
Yeah.
But you just know it when you see it. I don't know. I'll send everybody both of those links because they are interesting. Except Biz, because she doesn't have TikTok and now she can never download it ever again.
I know. I'm done. Now it's done. Ever.
Yeah.
Decision made. Ship sailed. There it goes.
Sailed ship.
Sailed ship. Ship lap?
Lap ship?
Lap?
I'm gonna be thinking about that all day.
Anyways, this has nothing to do with anything.
Nothing.
Side quest.
We have many.
We have
many. This is what happens when we don't record for like 3 weeks.
So
God, has it been that long?
2 or 3, yeah.
2 or 3, yeah.
Gross.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Sorry, everybody. There was a snowmageddon in New Orleans and I missed it.
Yeah, crazy. I loved all the pictures. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because I just engage with them or because I'm always liking your stuff, Biz, but Facebook is always showing me New Orleans stuff. Like pictures of Bourbon Street. And I'm like.
Yeah, there's like live camera views of Bourbon all the time. It's really fun. People watch it from what I can see.
I was trying to explain New Orleans to Shane because he's never been. And I was like, yeah, like the bars stay open like you're out for breakfast and there's almost no places to get breakfast because they're all closing because people are like leaving the bars. And there's like, I remember walking down Bourbon Street to go back to my hotel when I was there and seeing a laundromat that had a bar.
Yeah, man.
Oh, it's so fun.
Yeah. Yeah. It was great. I wish I would have been here, but I know it was beautiful. Insane. And now I have to go to Colorado to see snow.
I think my favorite was I saw a photo of 2 guys having a snowball fight on Bourbon Street. And I was like, oh, this is adorable. And I told Brett, I was like, yeah, there were snowball fights on Bourbon. And he was like, oh, the kids probably loved actually being able to be out in it. And I was like, no, it was adults. And he was like, that makes more sense for New Orleans. Like, yeah.
There were people skiing down the French Quarter.
I saw that.
Cool.
It reminded me of when I lived in upstate New York. I lived in this really, really small town, and we would get like 3 feet of snow overnight. We would get 3 feet of snow or more overnight, and it would be just, it was a lot. And some of the stores would open, but all of the residential streets took forever because we had to borrow the plow from the city next door. So we had to wait for them to plow and then come over and do the residential streets. And so we would cross country ski like to the store to get stuff. We just ski through town to get our goods.
Oh my gosh.
And with that, I feel like I basically lived in Alaska. So
Yeah.
it
That's crazy.
was something. Okay, so today we're going to talk about self-validation and thinking big. And I promise I'll make them make sense together.
I'm excited. Here for it.
Me too.
Well, so Ashleigh and I actually were talking about something, and that's kind of how we got like on this train of thought. And then she goes, "You should do that for an episode." And I hadn't even thought about it. So thank you. So I haven't been like really talking about this much. I've just with like a very small group of people who are doing the same thing. But Brett and I started a new, like, I don't want to call it a diet because it's not
It's a
temporary
lifestyle
thing.
change.
I mean, it's so cheesy, but it truly is. Like, so we started like making better choices with our food and our workouts. And so we started in late December, and we've each lost over 20 pounds. And
What?
so
That's amazing.
thanks.
Wow.
Yeah, it feels good. And there's been like, I'll probably talk at some point about all of the like self-discovery things, and I still have more to do, but I was telling Ashleigh, one of the cool things is like a lot of it is decision based, right? And so we're making choices, like better choices about what we eat, what ingredients we use, how we spend our time, and what we're doing. And at the end of the day, like as I'm going through kind of this journey of finding new opportunities and exploring a lot of options that we have in front of ourselves, like it's really easy to get caught up in not feeling validated by other people or other situations or opportunities. But like at the end of the day, I can look back and think like I made better choices for myself to help myself and my family today. And like that feels better than, and as a words of affirmation person, that feels better than words that other people can give me, because like I know that I did it. And so we just kind of got down this path of like internal validation and how powerful it can be. And I know, Ashleigh, like you've brought this up before with waking up at 4 or 4:10 or whatever
We had to move
time.
our alarm. We had to move our alarm up 10 minutes. It's devastating.
Oh, why?
Our workouts added, we follow an app, and so we were doing 3 sets for each workout, and now it's 4 sets, and so it's taking 10 minutes longer to get back in time. So we have to wake up at 4:01 now.
Oh no. But you had similar feelings, right? It's like at the end, no matter what happens, you did your workout.
Yeah, no matter. Yeah, I could literally sit in bed and do nothing else the rest of the day, which does happen sometimes on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, I mean, I was lazy, but I also crushed a great workout this morning. So
Yeah, like you made yourself healthier and you contributed, like you invested in yourself basically. Biz, do you have anything that you do that's like it gives you that internal validation, or like I know some people base it on like making their bed or whatever the thing is that like at the end of the day you're like, I'm still proud of myself because I did this.
No, not that I
Ooh.
can think of.
Okay.
Off the top of my head. So like again, here we go, getting excited about this topic when you gave us the teaser to be part of the conversation. I imagine that there are things that I just can't think of.
I was gonna say
But
lipstick.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but like, do you see me wearing it? Like, how often do I really put it on? You know what I'm
said you were
saying?
going to do it every day.
I know I did, but damn. Okay. But see, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like there's a lot of things that I want to say that I could like say is on that list, but if I'm being really honest with myself, like, there's not something that immediately comes to my mind. Like, oh yeah, like this is the one thing I feel like fulfilled, but maybe that's something that's missing in my life. So,
well, and that's the thing is like, it's exciting to think about like, ooh, okay, I could pick something that like at the end of every day, I can be proud of that thing for myself.
yeah.
So it's like, that's exciting. So, do you have anything that you would consider an internal validation, or like ways that you talk to yourself to make your opinion stronger than the opinions of others?
For me, the latest way for me to respond to that question is going back to the Brianna, like we're not going to make this harder on ourselves kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I go back to, is just knowing that I'm going to have space for myself above all else.
So when you are like, you make a lot of decisions, and so when you make one that's, you decide to not make it more difficult on yourself than it has to be, do you ever pause and like congratulate yourself for making that decision and listening to your own advice?
Okay, so I congratulate myself for like the pattern interrupt of pausing. And like when I am in the spiral of pulling myself out of it, that's the point that I now celebrate. I also think I make decisions based on what creates the most opportunity for me in the future. So maybe that's a byproduct of that, but it's not intentional in my decision making process ahead of time. It's more of like a reactionary response. Does that make sense?
Yes. And quick question for you, Biz. I know that you are a words of like not words of affirmation. That's not exactly what I'm looking for. But you know, like you say affirmations, you speak them
Yeah.
out loud. But are you also a person who just talks to yourself like out loud? Will you just talk to yourself like no one else in the room? Like,
No,
oh, I got to go do that thing. Okay, I'll go grab that right now. You don't talk to yourself?
not
Okay.
like out loud.
I was just curious.
I'm always sequencing.
Mhm.
Like I constantly am like, this is what I'm doing. And I'm always like aware of time, but I don't talk about it out loud.
Interesting. Kate, I would have thought that you do. Katie, do you talk to yourself out
Not
loud?
out loud.
Oh. I didn't
Okay.
expect to be the only one out.
I do more now, but mostly I'm like talking to Connor. I just kind of narrate like what we're doing, but it's because I'm teaching him. But like if I'm by myself, no. And this will probably be shocking to like everybody. When I lived on my own, I would go like a couple days without speaking a word.
I
That's
feel like I
crazy.
could do that too. Like
That's
that's the thing.
crazy.
Like I don't want to talk.
Oh, I love to
I'm
talk. I
funny.
just don't
I'm
talk to
shook
myself.
right now.
Yeah, no,
So
I
Ashleigh,
don't
you
want to
talk to
talk.
yourself out loud?
Oh my God, all the time. I have
Really?
to physically stop myself from doing it in public.
What?
Because I'm like, I will look insane if I will absolutely all the time.
I'm
I'm
gonna
always
try it.
talking to myself out loud and like in the car. And sometimes I talk to the dog as if he can understand me. You know what I
Sure.
mean?
Well, yeah. I mean,
uh, but yeah, like the best example I have of it and why it's relevant to me and the idea of self-validation is that one time I was driving by myself and I realized I had forgotten, I think it was like my laptop or my laptop charger. I don't know what it was, but it was something I needed. And so I had to turn around, head all the way back home, go get it. And I had previously been somebody that really beat myself up over little mistakes like that. And like I would cry about it. I would be like, I'm so effing stupid. Sorry, I'm trying to cuss less. I'm so stupid. And like this, that, and the other, like really, really, really negative about myself. And as I got more intentional about not being like that, and as I was more intentional about making sure the kids heard me say things, so like
yeah.
if they forgot something, it was not, oh, how could you do this? It was, that's okay. These things happen. This is why we leave a few minutes early. Thanks for remembering before we got too far. Let's turn around and get it. And so that pattern over time turned into I'm sitting in the car by myself, realizing I had forgotten something I really needed, and turning around and immediately saying out loud, that's okay. Everybody forgets things sometimes. And like hearing that out loud to myself was shocking because that is not something I would say. And that was one of the signs of like that internal validation of how I feel about myself. That it was like I had been very intentionally building on all these years. And now it's showing up without me having to be like, hey, Ashleigh, you're not stupid. Let's think about this. It just happened.
Okay, this is really
Can we just
interesting.
wrap this up? Like you just changed my life. Thank you. The end. No, yeah, sorry.
Let's
Keep going.
learn.
Katie.
Everybody talk to yourself.
That's so great. Yeah. I thank you for breaking that down. Yeah. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Katie.
It's interesting because the first time you told that story, I pictured the whole thing and you just thought that to yourself. So it's like really interesting that you said it out loud. But I also am wondering if, as we make an intentional effort to have better narratives to ourselves, if we do that pattern interrupt of saying it out loud and let ourselves actually hear it, if that would help.
I think it does because controlling your thoughts to me is more difficult because like I will have an accidental thought, right? I'll be like, oh, that was so stupid to do in my head, but I won't say that out loud anymore. So it's nice to have a change in like if I'm having a bad pattern of thought, saying something out loud, that's what I'm choosing to believe and think. It's easier for me to be like, those are, thoughts are made up. They don't exist. Words have been said. They exist.
Huh.
Yep. Well, guess I'm going to talk to myself now on.
I love it. So I was talking to, I had posted this on my Instagram. This is also related, but slightly tangent. If you scroll through my text message chain with my husband, it is a blue text interrupted by little bits of white where he replies to me. And so one time I sent him like all this stuff and he responded with an emoji. And so I was like, how many more words a day do you think I say than you? And he knows I talk to myself because he'll be home. He'd be like, what'd you say? I was like, nothing. I was just talking to myself. And so he's aware. And he said 20 times more per day at least. And then like 50 times more on the weekends. And I was like, it's so funny. He's an introvert. I'm not. I talk to myself. He doesn't talk to himself. I think he probably doesn't even have as many like words in his brain. But I feel like for somebody like him, he has a word maximum per day. And I have a word minimum per day where like I have to hit it. And so that's part of why I talk to myself because I'm like, I have to say things. And I will literally like, if I'm going to go get food that I like and I'm by myself, I will literally say to myself, I'm so excited. This is going like I'm so blown away. I need to go find some people that also talking to themselves.
Oh, we're not good enough for her anymore.
Nope. I need new friends now.
And this is how we announce that the podcast is now only 2 of us.
Bye, bitch. Just kidding.
That is really interesting though. I'm gonna try it. Maybe I feel like I would annoy myself so much, but I'm gonna.
I'm 100% doing it. That right there. I mean, if nothing else, this is conviction for Liv because we just had another conversation. We just had a conversation about feelings. And I just told her point blank that mommy struggled with her feelings for 20 years and then learned lots of things. And so like, I'm here to teach you all the things that I've learned. So that way you don't have to struggle so much. And it was but she's there. It was good. But I'm really excited because this is an example that I can set and be good for me too. And just with that. And, I also I love the fact that it's going to make me stop the negative talk too, because I'm going to make the rule for myself that like when I'm home, working from home, that no matter what it is, I say it out loud. And so it's so that way I'm more aware of it. So like I really appreciate it. I never ever considered it, Ashleigh, ever. And like Katie said, the first time you told that story, whatever, but I love the example that will set for Liv and her hearing me do that.
Yeah, she can't hear your thoughts. She can't hear you working through those feelings or changing them to be positive.
Yeah, or I, can also censor then, right, what I'm releasing in front of her out loud. And though, like, that's just, like how so many times like kids are your mirrors, right? So like the same things you struggle with, they start to struggle with, and that makes it really hard. Yeah. And so like I'm hoping that this will, without me even explaining it to her, will trickle down. So yeah. And that excites me. That excites me enough to like want to be held accountable to like doing something that may be like hard for me. And like I'm grateful for her, grateful for you, grateful for all that. So yeah, I'm here for it. I got the real motivation. So I'm gonna try.
Yeah.
I just want to say something really too, Ashleigh, skirt over it. I also am trying to cuss less, which is going to be way dramatically different than you trying to cuss less. But I just want to say, like, that's really cool that you made that conscious decision. I did too. Like, let's try to maybe have a pod once a month without an E.
We'll see. Yeah, just one,
Yeah. So anyway, thanks. Thanks for all that. Really great stuff in there, Ashleigh. Like, I'm so glad we have it recorded. You're so
it's funny, the stuff that like it just doesn't even occur to you as being different or potentially helpful to other people. Like, I don't know. At COVID, that was the one thing about COVID that like was great for me is having a mask on in public. Talk to myself all the time. It was great.
It's your own little recording studio. It just comes right back to you. That's hilarious. So one of the things, though, that I want to talk about with this, so I was going to bring this up in a different way. Anybody who's been within like earshot or in a group chat knows I recently read Psycho Cybernetics, and it's become like my entire personality that I was reading this book because I just love it. I love it so much, and I'll probably be referencing it like until the end of time. But one of the things that they talk about how your brain is basically like a lot of different mechanisms that you control. And one of the things they talk about is how you have to train your brain to recognize success. And so this is a really interesting conversation to have around that. And I hadn't even thought about this earlier, but saying it out loud, like causes the pattern interrupt that allows your brain to see what success is. So like your brain will repeat patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you never take the time to pause and like really acknowledge that you accomplished a goal or that you did something successfully, then you aren't teaching your brain that that was the right way to do it. And so like your brain wants to autocorrect to the correct thing, but if you never tell it what that is, then it goes to what's habitually there. So I'm wondering if like celebrating things out loud, it causes you to pause and it causes you to acknowledge it, and it also allows you to hear it, and then you're like telling yourself, yes, this is the desired outcome, or this is the desired action. You're like reminding yourself to stay in that way, instead of like just occasionally looking back and being like, oh yeah, that was good, I guess. It's interesting.
So my friend Nora, the neuroscience friend that I keep referencing and we're eventually going to have on the podcast, she taught me two things. She taught me three things, actually, and it's all about talking out loud. And one of them is when there's a miscommunication with someone on the team of saying out loud, whoopsie daisy, miscommunication. And then like just moving on, because like to sit and ruminate on it does not do any good for anyone. And so whoopsie daisy, miscommunication. And then the other two were two songs. And one of them is Thank You, God, for perfect timing. Thank you, God, for perfect timing. Thank you, God, for perfect timing. And it's really repetitive. But I have noticed myself singing that out loud at certain times. And then the other one is a tune that I have not narrowed down yet perfectly. And so if she listens to this, she'll probably laugh at it. But it starts with like I'm not perfect. No, I'm not perfect, but I got what I got. I do my very best. I do my very best. I do my very best each day. I do my very best. I do my very best. I do my very best. Oh wait, hold on. Each day. And then something like I do my very best, and then I sure do love you this way. I sure do love me this way. And then it turns, the second round is you're not perfect. No, you're not. And then it goes through, and then it's the we're, and you just sing it. And so like it's my favorite thing. So like I have found myself like singing that out loud, or like singing that to live. And like the way that she told me about it was she actually sent me a recording of her and her kids singing it. And I was like, that's amazing. And so I just want to give you guys those two little nuggets too. There's three little nuggets too. So I guess I am. And I do believe in the power of that stuff already right there. Like these little micro shifts, micro changes. Oh my God, I can't wait to talk to myself all the time now. That's great. Maybe it'll help me with my tone. I get all this feedback all the time. My tone is aggressive. Maybe it'll help me with that, because that's really hard feedback to receive.
Yeah.
And I need to work on it. So boss biz is not nice sounding.
Do you ever think about recording yourself?
No, somebody else suggested that to me recently. Actually, I need to figure out how to do that on my watch, like to talk or do it. Now that my watch is no longer burning my skin. So, yeah. Anyway, that's a sidebar, not for the recording. But I wore my watch. I wore my watch the wrong way and like slept on it, and literally like it like laser burned my wrist. And it's been like 2 weeks and it's still jacked up. But I should. I don't know how to. I should. I don't know
I'm
how to
sure
quick
there's an
draw
app.
record. Yeah. Thank you, Katie. Thank you for that suggestion.
I mean, you could also just like have, if you're on Zoom, just have your phone going, taking a video.
Yeah.
Or if you're on your phone, just turn on Zoom and let it record. You don't need the audio, or you don't need the visual. You just need the audio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll turn out like our intro video.
Nah.
A 10-minute video of your ceiling that you can listen to.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for that reminder.
Okay, so one of the other reasons that I really wanted to talk about this, and I was excited that Ashleigh pinpointed the self-validation or internal validation. So again, psycho-cybernetics, I was very excited to talk about it because it's just so, I keep rereading parts of it. It's just so cool. And it's interesting how so when I read books like this, I always read it the first time and kind of like absorb it and think about myself, like draw parallels and stuff. And then I read it again to think about like how I can better communicate with other people in my life. So like, hey, this seems like it might be really relevant to so-and-so, and like, how can I best support them or whatever. But one of the things that it talks about, and not many of these are like mind-blowing concepts, but I like when people bring them to light so that I can make connections with other things. But it talks about how it's like your personality is a system of ideas, and they have to be consistent with one another in order to line up with your goals. And so like he goes on to talk about how he uses an example at one point of like a student who doesn't do well in math, and so he's told like that he's not good at math, and so he goes on his entire life to believe that he's not good at math and struggles with math because he's been telling his brain not to try. And then there's like a teacher who teaches it in a different way and tells him he's good at it, but teaches him how to break down the problems, and all of a sudden he's like acing every math class and became an accountant. And it talks a lot about how like you have to decide. I mean, there are things like physical skills that you can't change just by thinking, but like you have to decide what your story about yourself is, and then you have to be consistent with it. So like we can't just pretend something, like you have to do the internal work to get yourself there, but you have to live in consistency if you want to hit your goals. Otherwise you're like telling your brain you have a goal and getting an action there, but then everything else in your brain is telling you that you can't do it. And so
yeah, hold on. You got to pause for a second right there. Hold on. I got to catch up. I think y'all talked about this a little bit. Hold on. Whoa. First of all, I was totally that math student. My math teacher in 5th grade sucked. And then my algebra teacher in high school in 9th grade also sucked and carried me all the way through college. And now I'm a freaking mortgage broker and I use algebra every single day. So like 100%, that's crazy that that's the story. 2, that is exactly the dissonance that I feel in my life. And I am at a different point this year than I was last year to receive this message, because I am at least out of the throes enough to like see the evidence left behind from the micro shifts that I just quote unquote tested. Yeah. So Katie, I love this so much. I cannot wait. I want to read more about this book, but thank you for breaking it down. Am I picking up what you're putting down?
Yeah. That's exactly.
Thank you for pausing before you keep going. Yeah. Okay. And thank you for noting this for my brain. Yeah.
I thought a lot about you during this book because they talk about imposter syndrome, and we've just had like a really beautiful front seat to watch you kind of work through that, right? And now you're like, you are doing so well with embracing who you are and truly like understanding and accepting your belonging, which is like it's so much growth, because imposter syndrome used to almost be a flag that you flew willingly, you know, because you were like, I don't know if I belong there. And now you're like, I belong where I want to belong. And I like, and you really believe that. And I love it. And it walks through some of that. But the one of the things that's been sticking out the most to me was this concept in there that and I got really mad when I read this the first time, and I like had to put the book down for a little bit. But it says that every idea is already in existence. And basically like your body is equipped to handle any idea. And that was a really fascinating thing for me to read, because especially, I know like many industries probably say this, but when you get a bunch of entrepreneurs in a room, people preach like, think big, think bigger, think whatever. And I have always struggled with that so much, because like, well, what am I supposed to think? Like what's bigger? What's big enough? And I went through like a mini little crisis about it a few years ago, because I was like, am I just not supposed to be here because I don't know how to think bigger or like think big enough, but I don't know what I'm supposed to think. And so understanding this, like tying some of these concepts together as far as like, okay, I don't have to consciously think of the answer, right? Like my responsibility is understanding who I am and understanding how to be able to tell that story to myself and for myself. So like the internal validation has to be there, and I have to believe it. I can't just say nice things about myself to myself. I have to understand how to believe them. And then it's okay, because things will align, right? And goals will kind of come to mind. And so there's a lot of conversations in here about thinking time, which I know is something that we've all talked about. And like, this was a gut punch for me, because it talks about what your thinking time is supposed to be and how answers come to you. And Ashleigh, so you're the only one who talks to yourself. I'm wondering if I'm the only one who does this. When I have designated like quiet time or thinking time, I have a whole list of things that I'm like, okay, I'll think about that later tonight when I'm doing this. And so I get to my thinking time and I have a list. I'm like, okay, now I can think about this. You're supposed to go into it empty.
Oh, you're supposed to go into it empty? Oh man, well, I do it right. Fuck all y'all. Excuse my French. Yeah. No, I'm sitting here listening and I'm like, but I'm like, oh, I should go into it with thinking things. And like the most recent time I had that example was Sarah like told us we had to do it by like 12 hours from now, essentially, with sleeping in there. And like I went into it intentionally and came out with something really good. And so that was actually making me think that you were the right way, Katie. So I'm surprised. Tell me more about how you're supposed to go in.
He talks about like when you're in alignment, right? Like, you know who you are, you believe the stories that you tell yourself about yourself, and they're positive. Your body's equipped to like get the answers that you need. And your brain wants to do that, because if you are doing those things, you are training your brain to follow the process and the steps of success, right? Because you've told yourself when you're doing the right thing, you know who you are. And so like, I mean, in this book, he talks a lot about creating a scene. So you think about a time in your life when you've been really relaxed, but it has to be like they use the beach a lot as an example, and you have to intentionally like really put yourself there and like pay attention to the sounds and pay attention to the feeling and let yourself like fully relax. And you stay there, and you have to make yourself stay there. And then like your body, like you are able to get a clearer head and a clearer mind, which then takes the actions that like your brain is programmed to take, instead of you trying to tell it what to do. And so when you're like, think of an answer, think of an answer, think of an answer. Well, what's an answer? But if you let yourself relax and like think through this stuff, naturally, you're more likely to come up with something, because you're not putting pressure on finding an answer. It's a really fascinating thing, and I'm starting to try it just to see. But I was like, oh my, I go into thinking time with like basically a list of like, okay, now, and some of that is good, right? Like you should do that sometimes. But I was like, okay, so what a difference would my life be if I was like really consistent in how I thought about myself, if I was really consistent in like the source of truth about me was me, and then I just kind of let myself like do my thing. And like, what does that look like? And it's kind of scary, but I kind of love it, because especially with like working out and eating better and making healthier habits, like I learned to trust myself a little bit more because I'm doing those things for myself and they're for my betterment. And I don't know, it's been really fascinating to me to read. And I've been like exploding wanting to tell y'all. And he shares stories about like a lot of really prominent people. And he even talks about like Einstein was really known for like doing this, and he would go to sleep during his thinking time. But when he woke up, he had the answers.
Well,
okay.
Yeah. My dream.
Sarah goes and gets massages. And that's what that sounds like to me.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, keep going.
No, that's
I am very resistant to the idea of it. So that tells me it's something to explore, because I definitely go in like, if I know I have time where I can dedicate it to thinking about something, I might not have like a list like where I'm going to check it off, but like I've got the mental list of like, oh yeah, I really need to consider that. And for me, a lot of the times it's like, oh, I want to research some stuff about it.
Yeah.
And read and then think on that and see if I believe that that's in alignment with you know what I mean? And so like the idea of like just showing up to a chair and just being like, I'm just going to think. I don't think I would think.
Okay,
you know
but both are important. And here's the thing, it's like, so another thing that he talks about in here, and again, I didn't intend for this to be book club and all. You're captive to what I want to talk about. One of the things he talks about is like, you have to truly visualize yourself doing the thing, right? So like at some point you have to visualize yourself either succeeding or like being on whatever path. But in order to do that, you have to do the research. You have to do the examination. So you have to have time where you're thinking consciously about what you want, or finding like an information gathering, right?
Data.
Yeah.
This is the processing time. This is processing time. Yeah.
Yeah. You are supposed to, in addition to that, apparently be taking time to just let your mind think. Which, like,
there's so much truth to that. Hang on. Yeah. I actually, like I told you guys, this is how I have been doing it, or I thought I was doing it wrong. And I think I am a product of that, because one of the biggest like imposter syndrome busters for me in my arena was that like coming to the realization that I am the only one that's been in all of the rooms that I've been in to gather all of the data that I have gathered. And my brain is the only brain that can process all of that data at once. And that is the value. So nobody can bust my imposter because nobody else has my brain. And that was really interesting though, Katie, because it sounds like really self-validating. Yeah. But where I first got there was actually through other people and through respect and appreciation for their brains. Mm-hmm. So like Ashleigh, like yours and your social media mind, right? Like that is seriously just hours of data consumption that I cannot have, right? And so like I then turn that internally for myself. So like giving myself the space to just let the computer compute is the value time. So like, but that right there is what like really helped me bust things, was because I couldn't lie to myself, and where it wasn't other people's belief, it was like me coming to the realization. So like, you've got to give yourself time of where you're not inputting more data, so you can actually appreciate the data that is already stored in your brain. Or else you feel you don't feel like you ever have the answers, or you never have enough, whenever the reality of it is that you do.
Interesting.
Because every question has already been asked, right, Katie?
This is very fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm still feeling resistance. So maybe I just need to read.
No, maybe you just need to try it. Maybe you just need to try it. Maybe you just need to get the
like, no, I need more data.
Maybe you need to research it first. No, maybe you just need to sit down and try it. Thanks.
That's
Call
funny.
me. I'll be your voice. I'll be your external voice. Whenever you need a different one. Different tone. I'll be your external voice.
Biz, can you make some recordings of yourself just saying things so when Ashleigh's talking to herself, she can press a button and also hear you?
Yes. Yes. You know, I am actually really proud of myself because I did a lot of cleaning in my office and I uncovered this thing.
2 words? Fucking A. And fucking incredible.
So now I don't have to cuss. I have my button.
You have your cussy button.
Yeah, thanks. You can edit that out if you want to. But I was really excited to find it.
I love
Bought that in COVID.
Okay, so last thing I want to touch on for this, and I sent this in our group chat before, and then we don't have to have another episode about psycho-cybernetics unless y'all read it and you want to talk about it, because I will always talk about it. But in line with thinking about like who you are, it was this section, and I'm gonna summarize it, but man, it was so good reading it. And it talks about how cars come with negative indicators, and so you see like a light on the dash of your car, and most people would then just go service it and get it back to health and drive the car. Most people don't just like consider the car a dud because, you know, it needs new oil or whatever. And how our bodies are made with negative indicators. And when one comes on, we think that there's something wrong with us because we're not at peak performance all the time. Instead of just being like, okay, well, I need to go take care of that and then I'll be better. Like I'll feel better. And we get so lost in this, like, why is this happening to me? Why am I like this? This is so wrong. Or we embody that negative indicator as like a flag that we want to fly, or like this is consuming who I am and like this defines me, instead of like just taking care of it and then getting back to the goal, and like keep your focus where it's supposed to be and stop focusing on the negative thing that came up. And we should just like, we're just systems. Our entire body, it's just systems, and we just have to manage the systems. And so when an indicator light comes on, it's okay to pause and treat it, just get back on course. But you aren't a failure because one of those came on. So it talks a lot about like glancing at them instead of focusing on them, which is really interesting. And I will say, like, from experience, you probably should look at them and treat them, because like I had an engine blow up in a car because I didn't change the oil. So I don't know. I thought that was really interesting, because I think it's so easy for us to like look at a negative about ourselves and be like, well, I failed at that, or like, oh, I'm not good at this. And then you just accept that as fact and move on, instead of being like, is this something that I can address and fix and move forward? Or is it not important? Yeah, I don't know. I just loved the comparison of that.
Interesting. It's funny because that makes me think of like, so when you're flying, one of the things that you're always doing is you're always scanning the dash and the tools to make sure everything is operating correctly and you have no warning lights that you need to be paying attention to. Because obviously some of them mean you need to get to the ground very quickly. You always have to scan your instruments, but you can't stay there. You have to go back up and scan for obstacles, right? Like birds and telephone lines and other pilots that aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing is a big one. And when you're doing that scan, everybody does it a little bit differently. But going from right to left is one of the ways that you scan, because it is the opposite direction of how we read. And so pattern interrupts your brain. So you scan slower. And then you always scan your closest obstacle range first, because those are the most immediate threats. And then you adjust your eyes to scan the further away, so that, because you have more time to address those. And so I'm just thinking, if we're using like the car metaphor, like, and not blaming yourself because it's just something that needs to be addressed, like you're also scanning your life for like, what are the immediate obstacles that pose a threat to who I am and what I want to do? and I address
Yeah.
those rather than panicking about everything else that's next.
Yeah. I love that. And the more you take care of them, the more confident you are about obstacles coming your way, and the like faraway threats don't seem as scary because you trust yourself and you know you can handle them.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And how often do like things we stress about, like, oh, that's gonna be a big problem, and it just like magically resolves itself within 3 years?
Communication.
Yeah, with communication, yeah, a lot of times stuff does just it's crazy. I don't want to give specifics because I just don't want to out people and things and whatever. But I had an opportunity that I was going for a year ago, and that just the person that got that opportunity instead of me just had that opportunity go away a year later. And that was like my big thing was if I'm taking on an opportunity, I don't want it to be short-lived because I don't like hopping every 9 months to a year to things. So it's kind of like, wow, at the time I was really upset about that. And now it's like, what was the song? Thanks God for the perfect timing.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, God, for perfect timing. Thank you, God, for perfect timing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's a good point.
yeah, there's just so many things that like we stress about, and man, if we just trusted ourselves and the universe a little bit more.
That's right. Universe doesn't ring so well in the song. Thank you, universe. I tried. Yeah.
Too many
thank you, God, as you see God.
what
Thank
was-
you, God, as you see God. It kind of works that way.
You're just adding an extra line in there.
Whatever. I make the rules.
Next
Fine.
episode is us going to be writing our own songs and singing karaoke.
Only an opera. Yeah. No, only it's a musical. We should do a musical episode.
Oh my gosh. I actually, Connor is like a very big fan of Row, Row, Row Your Boat right now. Because it came on the other day. And I have had way too much cabin fever, and I started doing like a full opera rendition of it.
Yeah,
And
you did.
like it was on, I don't know, like Miss Rachel came on or something, and I was like, oh my gosh, I really don't want to hear kids songs right now. And so I just got up and did like this super dramatic opera version of Row, Row, Row Your Boat. And there's like hand motions and everything, and now it's like every
Did
like
you
at least once
PowerPoint
an hour.
your boat at him? Did you PowerPoint at him?
But like last night I was putting him to bed. Last night I was putting him to bed, and he was like, row, row, row. And I was like, I'm not singing opera. Go to sleep. We're not doing this.
That's cute. Aw.
Anyway,
You should record him. You should record him asking for it to play back later.
Oh, I have. It's real cute because now he does it too, and he does like all the hand motions. So he's like imitating opera with these very like grand gestures.
Oh my God.
That's awesome. I used to sing along the songs when Cassie was little, and she would get so pissed at me. So mad.
Yeah, he'll be sitting next to me, and I'll start singing along to him, and he'll like all of a sudden I have a little hand over my mouth. Rude. People have paid to hear this voice, sir.
I 100% that mom. I roll down the window. They know.
Yeah. To prepare you, Biz, Cassie's gotten to the age where at the school drop-off line, she pauses the music before she gets out of the car.
That's what I'm saying. Like, live better not. This is one of the perks of being in New Orleans, where we dance, we parade our crazy in the street. Like, I am normal here. Normal. Like,
well,
I got Biz. Now I want to change the "You're Not Perfect" song to "You're Not Normal."
You weirdo.
We just last night got an invitation in the mail for our friends who are getting married near New Orleans, not in New Orleans, and I'm so excited for a Louisiana wedding and a second line.
I'm excited for you. Let me know if you get a place to stay.
We do not, because you will be a little far away from the venue, but we'll be down there in March, so I will be saying hi to you.
I'm excited. That's a beautiful time to get married down here. Good for them.
I'm very excited.
I love you guys so much. Thank
that's
you.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you,
for the
Ashleigh, for
episode,
the tip.
Katie. I feel like they made perfect
Yeah.
sense together.
They do.
You should hear the voice note I made about tying these two things together, and it did not make sense at all.
And look at it. It all came together perfectly.
Everybody read Psycho Cybernetics. Thanks.
Goodbye.